kind of hard. I'm sitting in front of a window. And so we're going to have some glare, unfortunately. Get the camera right in my face. Not great, huh? What can I do, man? I don't really have a lot of options here. I can drop it lower. It's still going to be just down here. If I raise it up, it won't be able to capture the camera at all. I mean, ideally, I'd probably have it. I don't know how much room I've got to move it. Let's see. How's that? There we go. Okay, so anyway, so this is the devil I'm working on. Trying to kind of get him painted. As you can see, I've got some of his base colors done. Starting to get some color on him. For me, it was been kind of trying to decide what's like this thing. I can't tell how much of that is leather and how much of it's supposed to be like the brass, the armor, but we'll see. And I'm not actually painting his cloth that light. I'm just using that as my base color. And I'll probably go over it with like a brown tone or something of that nature that'll darken it up some. I don't want it to be quite as dark as like his wings though. I want it to be kind of its own color, but I'm thinking if I can get a good, like a light brown tone shading on it, it'll darken it up a little bit. Pop some details. And so you can see he's got all these spiky things on, but they're all different. They're not all the same style. Like this one's like metal. I think that would be metal around the outside, but cloth underneath. So yeah, it's all different for sure. For surezies, man. So I've been using a tanned leather for the light brown undercoat of stuff. It's cold in here. It's free. It's like 85 degrees outside, but that means my AC's cranking and freezing us out downstairs. So when I come downstairs, I get the privilege of being melted. I need to get me some more of these two-tone colors, though. I don't have very many. Go through a lot more paint painting a big figure like this, though. Pretty much everything I'm painting takes up every part of him takes up a lot of so I always let the soap dry on my brushes. That's what I've heard you should do. Helps them to hold their shape, and then when you start using them. just rinse off the soap. That's what I've been told, and what I've heard or read, or best way to care for them, whatever. Oops, did I not put any paint on? Let's see. Anybody doing anything interesting for the forest today? I got some my kids are coming over. We're gonna barbecue, and then some of them might go to my church. That's where we usually game at. They usually do a fireworks show. They actually have a guy who's a certified fireworks guy. He's been doing it for years, but he moved. But he came back this year. He's working on teaching some other guys that are getting certified to do it, or who have got their license, but he's teaching them how to, set it up and do all that. So they're okay. They're allowed to. Now the question is, how long will it last? I mean, you have a lot of times you lose that, a person is willing to do that stuff, because eventually you don't always find people are willing to pick up those mantles. The thing about volunteer work. You may have a really good volunteer, but eventually, sometimes somebody goes, you know what, it's just too much work, I don't want to do that. So those things can die on the vine, because somebody wants to pick up that effort. But they're working on it now, so it may last for a couple more years. We'll see. I'm not sure how they got this thing set up on him. I think what makes it difficult is it isn't actual, as in, since this is not a real being, they can just stick whatever they want anywhere, right? Because there's no logistics in designing it to make it actually be logical. So like they have a couple spikes like right in the middle, and I'm like, how does that work, right? What's holding the spike on? Well, nothing. It's just part of the mold, so there's nothing to say that it's right or wrong for the mold purpose. But logically speaking, it doesn't make any sense. So when I'm trying to paint it, it's like, so are these clamps over leather, or are they just there? I think they're just, so it's like they put these extra spikes in whatever it is that's underneath, which I think is supposed to be, like a leather, but it's like maybe they threw a couple spikes into the leather. Which I suppose is possible. I know you're not going to see everything I'm doing because, I don't know, some of these painters are really good online. Not only in that they're good, but they somehow manage to get every shot or everything they're working on onto the screen. They're like, well, that's awesome for the viewer, but how do you do that? It's like you have to have a camera looking at your eyes, you know? I mean, you know, looking in the same place your eyes are looking. You have a, and I don't, you know, they'll show the person, you don't have a camera on his helmet that I can tell. But yet, there you are, seeing all the details. Camera's pretty good. Mine, you're probably not seeing everything. I'm guessing pretty good that I'm blocking up a lot of what I'm doing. Plus, I will say this too, my depth perception gets a little screwed up when one eye is seeing only the wing. And the other eye is trying to see something far away. So it's like, got one eye seeing something close that it's not focusing on, and the other eye is trying to focus, but it's lost the aid of the second eye to tell you how far away something is, because it can't see it. It's like being blinded, but also having it distracting you, because you're seeing some other object in the view, in the range. That's what I'm talking about. See, I don't know if you can tell, but see this spike there? It's like in the underlying leather, but yet these metal rings around it. These two spikes are in the leather, but these other spikes are in the clamps, which is where you would expect them to be, in the metal clamps that go around the leather. But maybe they're just leather straps around leather, or what? I don't know. It's not how I visualize it, so that's probably why. I'm probably just painting it wrong. Not painting it as it was intended, I don't know. So I backed the Frosthaven miniatures. Now, I didn't back them all. I didn't get all the monsters. What I did was I kind of got mostly just the... I didn't get a lot. I got what did I do? I got a couple of things. I think one of them I got was all of the summons. All the stuff that you can summon for your guys, because I want all my guys stuff to be on the board, right? And you know, it doesn't have so that they don't have to be tokens, banners and beasts and whatever not that they're summoning. So I got all that, and I also got I got the sticker set, you know, so I can have non-permanent stickers. Doesn't matter, I already put some of them on, but it was only $20. I thought, what the heck. And then, what else did I get? I got, I think I got some other monsters or something I thought was kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe I got the main bosses. I don't remember. Something else. But it wasn't the $400 kind of thing where you get all the monsters or whatever it was. So here's the trouble part. So part of it for me is trying to decide what his arms are. Or these wing things, which are basically like arms, right? They're like big muscles that come out. And are they just the same color as his body? I don't know what the best way to color those would be. Oh yeah, I was having some serious trouble getting the airbrush in there. And if I couldn't get the airbrush in there, I don't know how I'm going to get the I don't know how I'm going to get the brush in there to his wing. Oh, that's right. I was going to heat up his wings and spread them out. That would have made this a lot easier. You know, maybe I should do that. Now, this is something I really can't do on camera, but because it's not that easy to do with a big monster figure like this. But what I end up doing is you take some boiling water and you put it in like a bowl, and then you set him down, and you get like some cold water, and then you put the wing into the boiling water, or not boil, you know, it's really super hot, and it'll soften the wing, and then you spread it out, then you dip him into the cold water, which will help harden it again, and hopefully now it'll be more expanded, so then his wings will be both out and it'll be more paintable. It's kind of the goal there. It's not a bad position for his wing right now, but I mean, if you think about it, it is kind of a hard bend. Probably not ideal, but it guards him, right? It's like it's protecting his flank. He's not looking that way, so he's got his wing protecting him. But it's partly because of the way it was packaged in a box. It was only like that big, so his wing had to be folded to keep it in. He couldn't be as expanded as he wanted to be, I suppose. Okay, I need to get, if I'm going to do that, I should probably do it right away. Or I take a break on this guy and go do something else. Where's my pallid bone? Pallid bone. I have a bone color somewhere. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I'll do that later. Let's get some more paint on this guy. I know, distracted. Just it's too easy to look at something and go, oh, I gotta do that. It's driving me nuts. Part of what makes it so cold down here too is whenever I go upstairs, I come downstairs and it's cold because it's really hot upstairs, and that makes me want to put on something. And then I sit down here, my body adjusts, and I'm like, oh, I don't need it. What am I doing? I don't need to be I don't need to wear this. I'm starting to think I'm kind of warm now. I was thinking that this stuff is pretty cool, but it's very thin, so it's like a very translucent ink kind of paint, good for airbrushing, that kind of sort of thing. Problem is, you almost need a base underneath it. Like I should have probably put like a bronze underneath it or some other color underneath that would do a better job of covering the primer. Because otherwise I end up putting a lot of coats of this on. or even mixing it in with the bronze, you know, giving it a something a little more pigmented. Because as is, it's not very probably good for an airbrush. Not so good for straight on. Because you could just see too much of the underlying. I mean, you really can't, but you can. When you're close up, you can go, oh, you can see all the, you can see primer squeezing through, because it's just, like I said, it allows the underside. So it's good for like a highlighting color. Maybe even adding a sparkle to another color. And it's good, but if you want this to be the color, it's a lot harder. I'm really struggling with what the heck the steel parts of this thing are. Maybe none of them. Maybe they're just 100% leather. I mean, that's a steel pan plate, but everything else might just be leather. Same with these things on his ankle. I was thinking they were like something you might... I'm getting that same effect, where it's just going to take some time to get it fully covered. Oh well. I need some music or something. It's really quiet down here, you know? Yeah, then there's supposedly music and stuff that's out there. It's funny, who was it that was saying that they had like... They were doing a stream, and she does her own music, but apparently it's actual music. I mean, it's music she puts out. And she had to go through some hoops to say that, hey, it's okay, man, it's me. I'm giving myself license to put my own music on here. And they wouldn't let her at first. She had to prove or do something to prove that she could do her own music, because it was her. She's given herself the rights. And they did, and I mean, they let her do it. So she's got some music she plays on there. Sounds pretty good. I can't remember who it was, so please don't ask. It's not like a mainstream artist, but she has licensed music. I always wonder how do people sit for long periods of time doing this? I mean, I love to paint, but I don't do it very often because it gets kind of uncomfortable. My neck and shoulders and everything gets stiff. I mean, I guess you get used to it, but maybe that's it. They just do it enough that their body goes, fine, go ahead. I'm used to the torture, the way you treat me now. Just, I've told you how much I don't like it, but apparently you're not going to listen, so yeah, we'll just go with the flow. You're like, what kind of exercises does one do to make painting easier on the body? You know, sitting bent over, or try not even to be hunched, trying to keep yourself from getting all stiff and wonky. Cause I gotta keep stopping and stretching and. Ugh. Of course, maybe that's from going out and running 13 miles today. You know, I'm getting stiff just from that. You know, you can't just stop moving. That's kind of the thing about doing exercise like that. It kind of makes you want to keep going. Plus, I think I may have dehydrated when I was running. So it was pretty warm today, so I started and it was probably 60 degrees. When I was done, it was probably 75 or 70 or something. And it's supposed to get to 83 today. It might be there now. I don't know, but it's kind of got me. It had me crashing a couple times. You know, power nap. Right, so I'm gonna try something. Put this away for now, because I got lots of paint starting to spread out all over my board here. Plague green. So I've got these new Vallejo Express colors. I like them. They're pretty good. Now, do I think they're the best? I don't know. So far, the ones I've tried, I haven't tried them all. So to say all of them are good is kind of premature, I suppose. But I mean, so far I've had people say that the speed paints are some of the better ones, and I have some of those too. Don't have all of them. Again, so and you know, I think sometimes it's not about one particular paint. You may actually have to give a variety of paints the chance, right? Sometimes one paint might be better, just given its shade, the inking, the design of it. Who knows? So with these speed paints, you got to give whatever you're painting enough of them so that they can do their thing. If you put it on too thin, it won't do the thing it's supposed to, which is about draining and settling and giving the dark and the highlighty effects that the speed paints are supposed to do. So you got to give it enough for it to be effective. That's my thought anyway. So yeah, I think I'm going to use this green paint all the way, this green sparkle color paint on all the metal. That's going to be the color of all the metal stuff, the bronzy. So I'm going to have his chains and everything be the same, but I also need to give it a metallic base, I think. I think it's just too thin otherwise, so I'm going to have to use like some kind of a bronze color with it. So I'm thinking like maybe just a classic bronze, and then I'll give that the base, and that'll allow the pigment in there, and then I'll put in my color shifter green, which is probably going to make this a little thicker, or a little bit more pronounced, but we'll see. how this is going to work, to be honest, but we're about to find out. I want more of this. This is a lot of paint, but it's alright. Not supposed to let the paint, technically you're not supposed to let your paint, I normally have a little stir spoon thing I should be using. It did break, I don't know. Thought I still had it over here though. It's a little, oh here it is. Kind of weird little pampered chef thing, a micro thing, but it stirs really good. It doesn't make me oversaturate my brush. It was longer. It broke. I don't remember how I broke it, to be honest. I did something. Dented something that just kind of cranked and broke. I don't know. So yes, my answer is yes. This will definitely do a better job of covering up the underlying gray color. Turning my, I don't know, I'm going to have to figure out something for these spikes. I mean, I am painting them this color, but I don't know if I'm going to leave them this color or put some kind of highlight on them or what. Something to make them stand out a little bit. Okay, so there. Now we'll try to get some of these chains and see what that does. I know people start lighting their fireworks all early. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I mean, really think about it. If you can see your fireworks, then why not? It's not like New Year's where the celebration is the changing, it's the time of day. 4th of July is really just about celebrating it's Independence Day. So if the fireworks are visible in the middle of the day, nobody would be doing the nighttime stuff. It's only because fireworks are better to see at night, right? Nobody cares about the actual time. They start it as soon as it's dark enough. Whereas New Year's, I mean, the fireworks are midnight. It doesn't make any sense to do them at any other time. Yeah, we're going to celebrate 12 a.m., changing of the New Year 3 hours before the New Year, just because I don't want to stay up. It's just not how it works, man. probably why New Year's is not really a huge fireworks time. You know, people don't go out and buy their own fireworks. It's too much work for the middle of the night. So 4th of July is it. That's when people buy all their fireworks. I mean, you know, most people. So here's the tricky part. I prefer to not fill in the holes of these links with the gold. But it's kind of hard to know what to put in there. It doesn't make sense for the figure. They're not hollow like the links should be. They're not truly, you know, links. There's plastic. In other words, this is not a resin figure. This is a mold figure. So is the character. The character has plastic where it probably shouldn't. Now, I probably got too much paint set up for this. It's a big chain, big monster, but fact is, they're only small links. And, I mean, he's got a lot of chain on him, don't get me wrong. I might be wrong about that. I mean, he's got chain that goes all the way up his body here. And getting all that paint, it's going to take time. A lot of precious time. Plenty of time. I'm one of those people who can sing with music. And, knowing what I'm singing. I'm not one of those people who can just sing. Good, talented person who can truly sing. They can just pop it out, and in their head they can make out the words. I mean, some songs I can if I've really got it beaten into my head, but ultimately, most I cannot. It's just like I have a hard time finding the tune in my head, and I can't hit it. I can't hit those marks, knowing the peaks of the song, even if I think I know the words. Which I don't always. That's part of the problem sometimes. You don't know the words, so it doesn't fit. Voila, you fail. But Hopefully I'm on screen, seeing as there's nobody here to tell me I'm not, but we'll see. Maybe somebody will say, hey buddy, checked out your stream, man. You weren't even on screen most of the time. You were drifting. It's like, oops, sorry man, I didn't know. There's only so much you can do. I mean, I try to zoom it in so it's easy to see. And then this is not a great camera. Best cameras for this kind of work are SLRs. I do not have one that works. I have one that will do the job, but it does a poor, it keeps freezing. Stuttering, I don't know why. Okay, see, I'm not close enough. I didn't realize I'm half off the screen. You can't even see when I'm painting his legs. It's alright, I'm not painting his legs right now, but painting his chest, but still. And hopefully that's better. It doesn't require me to lean so far forward.
Feels good down here.
Yeah. I'm actually about to. I have my heater turned back on.
The girls make scones are really good.
Oh yeah, cool. Thank you. What are they? What kind of scones?
Raspberry.
Raspberry scones. Delish. Good stuff, Maynard.
Reba, come on.
Painting my, like I said, I'm leaving a lot of white spots because I'm not sure what to do with the center of the link chain. Now, I have been known to do silly things like actually drill out the links. And put gaps in the middle so that they're actually seen. Then you can paint them what they're supposed to be, which is whatever the underlying color is. Probably shaded dark or whatever, but it's got boatloads of chain, man. This chain can take a while. Some of these links too look like they're broken. Trying to resist the urge to just slop it on the links. I mean, as in not worry about the middles. So that his skin or fur or whatever that is can show through the links. Not easy. It's like, oh, it'd be just easier just to slop this paint right on there. Who cares? But apparently I do. You can see I have a fair number of areas that I missed when I painted it the color that his skin is. Which means I've got some serious back paint to go through and do. I'll have to go back and add more coloring, and I knew that. I mean, a lot of times when you do the base coat and then you start getting the other colors in, you start realizing, oh, that spot should have been that, or that spot should have been that. Because you would just miss stuff when it's all... Some people just say, do the whole thing in one color. And then you go back and when you paint over, you know it's all good. And I try to, but sometimes it's like, oh, I definitely don't need that part. But then it turns out, oh, maybe I did. So my the party I'm running the campaign for that actually has seen this guy. He wasn't painted before, but he wasn't. He was way out of their league at the time they met him. And I mean, he's like a CR11, so they were 5s or 4s, and I don't think they could have taken him. Plus, he had a friend with him. Well, a friend, a cohort, another character. And it's like, yeah, they aren't going to take this guy. But I made it kind of clear that he was going to be out of their league. And he escaped. He wasn't interested in fighting them at the time. I mean, he did threaten them. He took a shot and somebody got hit pretty hard. But it was only like a warning shot, so it wasn't enough to take him down. But it was enough to... you know, make them realize that, yeah, we probably shouldn't fight that guy. We should let him leave. If he wants to leave, feel free. But they will meet him again. That's the goal. He will reappear at a later date. Interesting. The link that's in the middle is not actually present. It's not there. The injection mold missed it. Or its detail just didn't come out. Funny when the light hits him, this sparkly color really pops. But when there's no light, it's kind of almost hard to see it. It almost looks the same color as his fur. Right up until I look at it with my lens, and then with the light just pop. There it is. When you take it off, I mean, it's not the same color, but I mean, it's just not as obvious until the light hits it. See some more scone. One reason why I play Diablo as much as I do is because it's comfortable. Just sit back, mouse, keyboard. It's really, you don't have to bend over and hunch. But painting is oddly satisfying. Just I wish I could do it for longer periods. Homemade raspberry scones, man. Good stuff. You know what? I was thinking. Normally I wouldn't drink one of these. Well, it's not even that early anymore, but I was thinking early in the day. This is a ghost. See? Ghost. Let's see, a mere, no, it actually says on the front, 200 milligrams of caffeine. I mean, that's almost my pre-workout. Pure carnitine. I don't know what the heck that is, but legendary energy, epic focus. 1,000 milligrams of pure carnitine. 150 milligrams of alpha GPC. 100% of your daily vitamins. No, that's not right. 4 daily vitamins. Which daily vitamins? Oh, vitamin C, vitamin B6, niacin, and vitamin B12. All the energy vitamins. I don't think vitamin C is technically an energy vitamin, but it's one you can add to anything and get like an orange flavor. I mean, so you can give it a little kick. You know, it's almost like a flavoring vitamin. It's like super common, super easy to apply. Now I see a lot of people painting with like a level number 1 brush or number. I have bigger brushes. I just don't like them. I don't know. They don't feel as precise. I've seen people using them. I just don't use them very often. Just unless I'm doing a really big. This guy's pretty big, and I would use it for like his wings or something if I was doing like, or his horns are pretty big, so there's a lot of area in his horns. But otherwise, I do tend to avoid using it because I just don't feel like I have as much control. I feel like the paint gets away from me sometimes. The nice thing about painting with sparkly paint, metallic paint, is that it definitely, it's very obvious where you put it once you put it on when you're using a light. It's just light bounces all the reflective particles. Especially when you're doing it if it's a darkerish color like this one. Should be painting some monk stuff because we're actually doing our campaign this weekend, which we just don't get to do very often. Not as often as I'd like. I wouldn't mind getting into another campaign. About finding time for it though. I think it's funny how they give so many characters, what do you call it? Dark vision? Yeah, it's like everybody's got dark vision. All the different races. Apparently everybody can see in the dark. Which is kind of silly. I would be surprised if, like, I mean, I haven't verified, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've given humans dark vision in the latest. It's just silly. Can everything see in the dark? I could see like dwarves. That makes sense because dwarves are, they're underground. They're inherently underground. I mean, they're miners, right? They've developed it over the years, I'd imagine. But come on, everything? Why would elves have any better dark vision than anyone else? The elves don't live in the underground. They're just another race that lives out in the woods. Though I know they're supposed to be like what do they call it, dark elves or drow, which is basically what they are. But they can see it. Maybe that makes sense. But again, if you don't live in an area that's inherently dark, why would you have naturally dark vision? I don't have the steadiest of hands. I'll say that. And sometimes when I'm trying to reach, it gets a lot harder to be steady at a distance. Learning to teach yourself to be able to do these like long strokes from far away is not easy. One more set of chain links. The other side. Painting big figures is time consuming because you're never like, it's never like almost done. It's like I mean, it is eventually almost done. But what I'm saying is, it's like you don't just go, oh, I'm going to paint this bronze spot and it'll only take you 2 seconds. Because like on a mini, on a normal size mini, you know, the medium size guys, not this guy is huge, all right? So he's not even large. He's considered huge, I think. And he takes up a lot of time just to do like these chain links, which might only take 15 minutes on a small guy or 10 minutes. On him, it takes, 40 minutes to paint just these links. There's so many of them. And then if you're trying to paint without just slopping it on, allowing it to fill in all the gaps, which I should probably do because it would make my life so much easier and nobody would ever notice that I did it except me. Then I haven't even decided what I'm going to fill them in with. So now they're just gray. The areas that are not filled in with the color of his skin, it's just gray because it's just primer underneath, which is probably not great either. Probably should just fill him in either with black or the color of his skin. Probably be the best plan. Oops, may have touched a couple spots I wasn't supposed to there. I think I touched his horns. Dang it. Thing is, as good as this stuff's got a pretty thin appearance, so it's probably not. Now this does go over his shoulders. Problem is I can't quite see how it connects. And again, it's not perfect. You know, it's the problem with these molds is they don't always catch. I'm surprised that actually, I gotta say though, I am actually surprised at how good a detail this got up here under the shoulder. Because it's like, how does it even come out of the mold with that? Injection molding is an interesting science, but it's weird how it can actually grab some details in places you're like, it's not normal. Now you can do more with 3D printing because it's like it's built. So there could be detail up until the top thing comes over and kind of covers up some of that detail because it's built over it, but 3D print don't know that until it goes on. So that allows for some better, oftentimes better detail because it can almost appear. So in other words, like chain links might actually have some some hollow spots because it doesn't have to fill them in. It doesn't care. All right, did I miss any? The question is, did I miss any chain link on his neck, on his shoulders? Or anywhere for that matter. Hey, Drago Bancho, how's it going, man? It's actually for a game. I'm playing with it. He was originally encountered by my D&D party that I'm running a campaign for. My son is and daughter-in-law and a couple of friends, and he was unpainted at the time, but he was too big, way out of their league at the time. But I have a plan for them to meet him again, and they'll actually get a chance to fight him. I mean, real fight. So I'm hoping to have him painted up and ready to go. So for me, I'm not one of those people who can paint so well that like it's a tournament piece. It'll never be a tournament. I mean, not a tournament piece, like a competition piece. I would love to enter. I like to enter contests, but I'm not. I mean, I've never actually been competitive, but it's still fun. You know, it's like I used to play in chess tournaments, and though I always played with guys that were way out of my league. I'd win a few rounds, but oftentimes I ended up, getting eliminated or not qualifying for the final. In high school, I won some stuff, but it's different when you start playing with real people. So that's the same kind of thing. I like to compete. It's like you play tennis. With painting, there's not really it's usually open, right? It's just like, oh, this is a contest for everybody to paint this kind of figure. And it's like, well, there's some awesome painters out there. I mean, man, I don't know how they do it. But it's still fun. I enjoy it. It's a very zen thing to do. People go, oh, I don't have the patience. But as you get going, for me, it's not even about patience. It's more about comfort. I like, as much as I enjoy it, it's about, I tend to get a little stiff and stuff. I see people paint for hours and hours on ends, and I'm like, how do you do that? How does your neck not get all crimped up? But I do enjoy it. I think most people would say, "Oh, it's cool. I don't have the patience." But it's like, you know what? I didn't think I did either. I mean, like I said, I just thought it'd be cool to have these painted figures, and I decided to start painting. So for me, I don't typically paint something this big. It's not something I'll paint very often because this is a lot of time, a lot of work, and you know what? It's a little more intimidating. Painting big figures is way more intimidating than painting small ones. I don't know why. 'Cause you just tend to feel like, bigger pieces means more obvious errors. Somebody looks at it and goes, yeah, did you see that you did this or that? I was like, no, but thanks for pointing it out. No, I don't know. People don't usually comment negatively. They'll either say, oh, it's cool, or... So it doesn't matter. It's like most people won't comment negatively because they know they won't do it. Most people won't do it. Yeah. Slap chop. I like slap chop. I oftentimes will set that up. Oh, what the heck? Oh, did that change your screen? Did it get darker? No. Okay. Um, I I like slap chop too, um, but and I use a lot of contrast. I've just been buying up more and more. I've been buying a lot of the. Well, I have these quick shades, but I also have some of the speed paints. I haven't bought them all yet because it's expensive to buy all of them. But I've been slowly building my collection of speed paints and what you know what I like is I got some of the Vallejo Express colors and they're kind of cool. I like them. Now I don't have all of those either, but actually it was interesting because I heard about because I've been using Vallejo. Vallejo's always been like my go-to even before all of these new inks or contrast paints and stuff have been coming out, and I've always liked Vallejo. So I heard that they were coming out with their own line of basically what amounts to their contrast paints, which is the Express colors. And I said, oh, cool, one of those coming out. Oh, they came out last December. Hey, let me see about getting some. And I look around and like nobody has them on sale. Nobody. It's like well, I mean, at the time, I don't know. I mean, they're probably available now. And supposedly they only had like 30 some colors, which isn't a very big line. And I says, well, they're supposed to be coming out with some more, so maybe they'll fill up. But I went to one of my local stores, and I was looking around looking at adding a couple more bottles of paint of things I don't have, and they go, hey, we got the Vallejo paints. You got the Vallejo paints? They say, yeah, it's over there on the display. I'm like, oh, cool. So I went over there and bought myself a few bottles of them, and I do like them. They're cool. Yeah, it's not enough. But then again, you don't, like I said, I won't buy them all at once anyway. And they are coming out with more colors. So if you like them, you just add them to your. It's like, okay, so look, let me show you what my paint thing looks like. So this is my paint rack, okay? So I don't know if you can see that. This is, I've got a pile of them. So most of them are Vallejo, some of them are Reaper. And then I've got like a lot of my washes. I finally decided to say, screw it, I'm not separating my inks and contrast paints anymore, screw that. So I just went through and put them all together. So like these are all my metallics, but these are blues, right? I kind of broke them up. And then this is my cases of minis that I'm kind of working on, not to count the mess that I've got on my table, which are things I'm actually working on. So I'm a little erratic with changing directions on what I'm currently working on. And I finally decided to dive in on this guy. I've had him for months, and I said, you know what? I want to get at least one couple of the big guys that we're going to meet at some point painted. So I should probably start putting some effort into actually getting him going. But I do like the Vallejo paints enough that I will probably buy when they come out with more. And they, like I said, they're supposed to be coming out with more this year. And you don't have to paint with all the same brand. I mean, if you like a color that's in a line, just go ahead and use, or you don't have the one you want from Vallejo, then use one you like from someone else. I mean, I don't think a mini, okay, to a point, a mini doesn't have to be painted with the same brand. But some brands kind of have a tendency not to play nice with other brands. Like they won't mix or something. Now blending is maybe not. They like even wet blending doesn't work very well with them. They just don't mix well. I don't know why. I think Scale 75 kind of has that reputation. I think I was watching, was it Squidmar? There's only a few guys I actually watch or have watched do things regularly. And of course, everybody knows about Miniac, but Squidmar is another one. And what I like about Squidmar is he'll do like reviews of all kinds of stuff, big time stuff. And I don't know that Miniac does too many reviews. He just paints a lot, and he's really good. But Squidmore, like, he went through all the paints, and he says one of the things he didn't. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was scale. I have some scale 75. So I have probably every brand to some extent. Well, all the. Okay, a lot of the major brands, Games Workshop, and of course Army Painter. But my first and foremost, and the ones I have the most of, are Reaper and Vallejo. And actually, when he did his, which is interesting because he did a try 'em all kind of review, where he went through, like, I don't know, it seemed like him and his buddy did like a review of like 40 different paints. Now this is before the Express colors, so they didn't actually do Express colors. I don't know if they did one recently. I don't know if they've done an Express one lately. I haven't watched him in a while. But I don't know if he's done. Actually, I think he might have done a Vallejo one. Maybe he's where I learned about him. I don't remember. But I like Squidmore. I like him. The stuff they do some cool projects. I think one of the things they've been working on is this massive, gigantic diorama thing with these gigantic war machine things. Yeah, okay, so that's a thing. If you're painting armies, but even so, okay, so if you're painting armies, the uniform look comes from the colors, though. It doesn't come from the brand. So, like, if you use Vallejo, you like an express paint that goes all the way across, all of the metallics. By the way, this paint I'm using right now is, it's actually one of Vallejo's color shifters. It's one of those. It's a color shifter right now that I mixed with some bronze to give, because I was finding that the color shifter by itself is better over a base. It doesn't, like, I have a gray primer on this guy, and it's too thin. It's great for like airbrushes and stuff, and but it doesn't cover light colors very well, or other colors very well, because it's very thin. So you almost need to mix it with a another color that's got more pigment. So I mixed it with a bronze. It's working really good now. I mean, it's doing what I wanted. It's actually covering up the primer while still giving me that color shifter color that I like. And so I've got, now there's three sets that Vallejo came out with of the color shifters. And what's cool about the color shifters, now these are not like your typical metallics. Okay, so most metallics are some form of silver and gold, right? Silver, bronze, tin, metal, something. So usually some kind of silver and gold. Color shifters are like metallics of a bunch of other weird colors. But these are metallics that are like, where like silver tends to just have this shiny effect, where it just, most of the time it's not very metallic in the true form of, like, if you get a metallic blue car, you can see all the metal flakes, the sparkles. That's what this is. This has got the sparkles. Silver doesn't usually have like sparkles. It tends to just look silver. It's like you look at it's like it shines. That's what a lot of metallics like gold and silver and bronze will do. They tend to just shine, like you see the silver up here on his blade. Whereas the color shifters, if you look at them under the light, they literally sparkle. You can see all the little sparkly tones and stuff coming off of it. But that's just an effect of, they're basically putting metal flakes into other colors. But as color shifters, they're actually kind of cool. They do tend to look like they change colors slightly. So it actually tells you what they are. So this one's like dark green and tin. So it's still, I mean, if you think about it, bronze is a greenish gold. I mean, gold has got a greenish hue anyway. That's what gold is. But this is a dark green tin. So it's not a huge shift. But like some of these go all out. Look at that one. That one's green, silver, blue. So, depending on how the light's hitting it, it tends to have a silver, blue, green look. But they are kind of cool. And some of them are, I have some weird ones. Some of those sets have like purple, orange, like metallic orange red thing. It's kind of weird. Some with some pinks and yeah. Anyway, that's what this is. This is a color shifter mixed with bronze. What was I? And I got distracted by what I was saying. Yeah, they have a lot. Do you have the 2.0? Oh, you do. Okay, 89 colors of speed point. Yeah, you have 2.0. Um, I've heard mixed reviews with the versions. People saying that 1.0 actually does better with the contrast, but it's got the problem of reactivation. Now, I haven't. I've got a couple of both. I don't, like I said, I don't have a ton of either one of them, but um, I hadn't noticed the reactivation much when I heard about it, and then I started playing with it and going, oh, it does kind of do that. Kind of restart real easily. It's real. I mean, not when it's been dry for multiple days or anything, but if you're in the middle of working, it's really hard to paint over it because it keeps reactivating. So it does do that. 2.0 I've heard doesn't really do that as much. It's much better, and it's probably true. But it also doesn't do the contrast as much, and where you don't get quite the same level of cool separate, color contrasting. And because I was watching some videos that showed examples, and I played with it, and in some cases that's true. But again, I don't have a ton of the paints to really give a good opinion of it. But so I guess it kind of depends. I think the Speed Paint 1.0, that effect actually might be work in your advantage if you're one of the people who doesn't like just use those paints. Like if you like to mix them with other things, I think that really lends itself well. For one, it helps your paints to stay moist while you're painting. If you're, not just because you use a wet palette, but it actually helps you to be able to blend better. I think it makes them more blendable. But Alexa, turn on Captain Atom. Let's get a little bit more light on here. Yeah, and that's what I've heard as a good suggestion to help keep paints from drying too hard or whatever using mediums. And they have their own medium, and I don't know if it matters what brand you use for mediums, but probably it's usually best to use the medium that's made for that brand if you have it. And I think I mostly do. I think I've got mediums for both speed paints and Vallejo and even Reaper for that matter, or mediums for both. Actually, I use the Vallejo medium for most of my stuff. Like I said, I do have more Vallejo than anything else. It was kind of, like I said, it was cool though that when the Squidmar did a review, Reaper and Vallejo came out on top. They were the top two. He said he was surprised because he hadn't used, I guess, Reaper or Vallejo, and him and his buddy both agreed that those are two of the best paints. And at Games Workshop, they said they really liked, and it's one of their favorites, but it tends to be, they gave points to things like availability and cost. So if you're in, and they're not from around here. I think they're in Great Britain or whatever, England, whatever. And Games Workshop is crazy expensive. They are expensive. Their bottles of paint cost like what, $1 or $2 more per bottle than most. I have some of theirs, and then I have to transfer all of mine. So almost all of my Games Workshop, except for the technical paints, I have a lot of their technical paints. Most of their paints, I've moved over to dropper bottles. I hate their pots. I actually bought me a big bag of dropper bottles. So every time I buy paint pot paints at Games Workshops, I immediately move them over. And what's nice is the labels peel off the bottles pretty easy, so I could just peel them off and put it on the new dropper bottle. And you lose some paint? Yes, you lose some paint. I don't care. I don't paint enough. Frequently enough. It's not like I'm pouring through. I can't remember the last time I finished a bottle of paint. I don't think I've ever finished a bottle of paint, which is probably not good, because it means some of my paints are probably drying out, because I've been doing this for years. Not not like 20 years. I've only been painting for maybe 5 years. And I am slow. It takes me forever. I will paint them. I'm better than I used to be. I mean, I can kind of get a mini done in maybe 7, 8 hours now. A mini, not this guy's a mini, but I mean like that kind. This guy, I've been working on him now for, well, actually not that many sessions really, but I probably totally have already put in about 10 hours on him because I'm slow. I am not fast. Now, that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons I don't get into like armies. I don't have the patience for armies because it takes too long, and it just like, I can't focus on painting the same guys over and over. Now, I imagine when you're doing armies, you're using airbrushing, right? I mean, you'd have to. I guess you don't have to, but... And I guess if you're doing speed paints, you can kind of slop it on a little bit and get through them quick, but... Guys like this, you have to airbrush a little bit. I mean, I airbrushed all of his body and his wings and all of the major parts of him. And then I airbrush the shading that you can kind of see that it's darker on top and stuff to kind of blend it out. But it's hard. I'm not good enough with the airbrush to do detail. I've seen people paint entire minis from start to finish with airbrushes. It's like, dude, how do you control it that well? It's like, I would get paint everywhere it's not supposed to be. I'd be constantly getting it wrong. I can barely get those fine lines, much less keep them consistent and staying on target. The fact that I actually managed to go through a couple painting sessions recently without drying out my airbrush nozzle. I mean, it shows that I'm actually improving something. I actually got through it with, it helps. I was starting to use I was using contrast paints and inks, which made that a lot more doable. It's hard for me to get the right consistency with like regular paints. Yeah, probably. But yeah, I don't know. The mediums are nice for keeping the paint going longer, and I don't use it as often as I should. But one nice thing when you're using like contrast paints and inks and whatever, you don't actually have to use mediums very often, unless you're worried about it drying too fast or something. I do like that mediums also have a tendency to be pretty good for like if you have paint that's too shiny, you can get like a matte medium and kind of kill that sheen a bit. It's like inks can be pretty shiny, like Vallejo's inks. A lot of them tend to be kind of shiny. I don't know if that's just a trait of inks. I don't know if that's normal or if that's just Vallejo's inks. But so I'll mix them sometimes with like a matte medium to try to get them to be a little bit less sparkly. So this campaign I'm running is one. All right, so two of the people who are playing, my son and a friend of ours, are, I would say, more D&D experty than me. I've never done a campaign before as far as DMing goes, and I kind of defer to them sometimes when it comes to rules and stuff. But so the campaign I'm running is Descent into Avernus. That's the Baldur's Gate one. I think it's a Baldur's Gate one. Yeah. And I combined it with one of the new ones, the Witch Light. What do you call it? Witch Light something or other. I forgot what it's called. But I combined it with that one, And I have been customizing. So I'm using it as a template. So it's basically going to end about where the story says it's going to end, right? I mean, that's kind of the goal. But I've also been customizing it, changing it, blending the two, not just making one running simultaneously and then trying to redirect everybody, though I do try to keep them doing both parts. Yeah, I can't force them, right? They're going to do what they want to do, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and whatever. I just keep making it an option, but I'm blending them, so sometimes one of my son one time goes, you know, these two campaigns really aren't, they're not cohesive. And he wasn't talking about how I was running them. He had read them and said they play too differently. And I'm like, for one thing, you shouldn't be reading the campaign. I go, I know you're curious what we're playing, but know this: you are mistaken if you think you know how this is going to go while you're playing it. The only reason I'm DMing is because I wanted to be creative, but I didn't want to create the story. It takes too long to come up with a story. So I let the game tell me the story. But then I'm coming up with the tweaks and changes that blend it out, Change it into, try to make it more cohesive and make things happen that mean something. So, like the events that the Witchlight story are kind of being morphed to match some of the things that are going on with the Avernus story, and they kind of have multiple objectives when they're in each. And some of the things that they do are reliant on the other place. Best ways to do things oftentimes are to go through one or the other part. And now the Witchlight one is a lot shorter, so they could theoretically finish that one, and they will probably finish that one off before they finish off the Avernus one. And maybe I'll have some carryover. Maybe I'll have guys from one show up in the other. And I have had guys showing up, but I mean towards the end. Maybe I'll have some characters from the Avernus story, or from the Witchlight story after it's been solved, be part of their finish to the end of Baldur's Gate one. That's my goal, to kind of make them feel like they were all part of the same story. Yeah, well, speed paints are almost like glazes to begin with. I mean, they're so thin. You got to be. It's like, well, maybe I don't know. Some of them are. They seem really thin. Like these color shifters. I have the heat on down here because I was freezing. Now I'm getting hot. These color shifters, they're cool paints, but they let the underlying paint shine through, which is common with like an ink, or sometimes some of these contrast paints are really thin like that too. So you either got to get a lot of it on there so it covers it up good, especially if you use a light primer. I'm using a gray, and it's kind of light. So a lot of people like to prime in black, which I do sometimes, but I don't. Though if you do like the what do you call it, the zenithal priming, and I try to do that too, where you paint black going one way, and then the light going down. I've done that. It works pretty good. But then that's the best time for contrast paints, I think. If you have the zenithal priming going, then the contrast paints will kind of work really good on that because they're thin, and they will allow that dark underneath and the light up on top, and it works really good. But this guy, he came primed, so I didn't prime him. He was one of the, he's one of the, what do you call it, the Whiz Kids ones? What are they called? The, let's see. Oh no, this is a Wizards of the Coast one. Wizards doesn't make unpainted minis. Oh, maybe it was a Whiz Kids one made for Wizards? I don't know. But anyway. They come primed, so I decided not to prime it. So now I'm using the gray that came with. He's I also got a lot of the Reaper minis. A lot of my minis are Reapers, and I also get a lot of the. I buy minis on Etsy a lot, and when I do get minis from Etsy, actually almost anytime I get minis, I'll do a box opening and give a review of what I think of those, the quality of those particular characters, or um, that particular company, as a whole. Because if I get like 6 or 10 minis, the quality of the minis comes back to me as, all right, well, what is this company? So there's a couple of guys out there that are awesome. Because there's a lot of variety in how 3D printed minis can be. A lot of variety. The work, the effort these guys put in it varies. There's a couple of guys out there, companies, they do awesome work. Your minis come back clean and sharp. They got good detail. And then others, or they'll come back well padded. The going way to pad, for some bizarre reason, is to put bubble wrap on all the minis. And I say bizarre because I don't think that's the best way to do it. The best way to pack something is to not have that's fragile, is to have zero contact. Bubble wrap provides soft contact, cushiony contact, but it can break minis that have fine pieces or fine parts because it's just still contact. And if it's putting any pressure, it can break the mini. But it seems to be the way everybody's decided is the right way to ship. I think there's ways to do it so you don't have to do that. In fact, I know there is. If I had a 3D printer and I was selling minis, I would come up with a way to not touch the fragile parts so that when they get their piece, it's gonna be not broken. Some guys are better at it either way. They've figured out how not to send you broken parts. They figured out how to pad it, or even if they're using that, they've got it in a way or that's not putting extra pressure beyond that. And anyway, so I buy a lot of minis from online. Etsy. I know I'm digressing, getting off the topic. But that's so when I prime those, you have to prime those. But some guys will actually prime them for you. Some will do it for a charge. Some will do it for free. It's like there's a couple of people I've bought minis from online that'll they come primed, ready to go. So far, I think I've seen them primed in black and gray are kind of the common colors. But if they're primed, and some will charge you like an extra buck. Some will do more than that. They'll like say, what color do you want it? They won't paint it outright, but it'll come like all black or all green or whatever. They give you a couple color options. Some come with bases, some don't. Most of them will come with generic bases, but they won't come with like fancy bases. You can pay extra. And so I like to give reviews of them. So there's a few companies that have given me awesome stuff back, and I would buy from them over and over again, and they have a good selection of stuff. So it's like you could. Almost always, though, you have to buy from someone else at some point because not everybody doesn't carry all the minis. So if you find some cool minis, you can sometimes go find them on a place you like. Sometimes you can't because sometimes that mini isn't, it's not offered by. So you have to go somewhere else. But if you can, like I like to buy from like Master of Minis. Those guys make awesome work. They are fantastic. But there are one or two out there that I had to say, and then a lot of them will make an effort. Like if something's wrong, like something broke, and you say, hey, this piece came with broken pieces. A lot of those guys will say, oh, let me print you up a new one and send it to you. They don't charge you. They just make another one and send it to you. It's not like sending a mini anywhere is all that expensive. I mean, you can put it in a tiny box and it's probably a few bucks to send it. Because they don't weigh nothing. And they have no dimension to them. They're pretty small. So a couple of bucks to send it, and it's good customer service. They're already charging you enough. But if you find minis, if you find people that are still selling minis at around $6 or $7, a lot of those people, they're the ones that put the least effort into their minis. They just zap them out. A lot of times the detail's messy. Sometimes they're broken. And a couple of those companies, they don't care if it shows up broken. I told, let's see, something Emporium, 365 Emporium or something. They have a huge selection, massive selection of minis. And therefore, they're probably getting a boatload of business. But their minis, they don't clean them up very well. They're full of what do you call it? Those little stents, little pieces of plastic still all over them that you have to cut off yourself. Which to a point is fine. I mean, yeah, I don't mind cleaning them up a little bit. But these guys, they didn't clean up anything. They were just all over it. They don't even the most basic of effort. All they did was cut them off the machine and pack them up and ship them to you. And so whatever was still there after they cut it off is what you got. And yeah, they were disappointing to say the least. And they were also the cheapest. They had the cheapest going for them. And that was probably why. And I wanted to get a lot of minis, so I bought several things. And I'm glad I only bought 10 or 12 minis from them. And they had a low... I like to buy enough to not pay for shipping. They usually give you... Sometimes it's anywhere from 30 to $50. And if a company's got enough, I'll buy $50 worth of minis from them. But... or sometimes I have a bunch of stuff in carts. In my cart, and it's like when I'm looking for a new mini, I'm like, all right, one of these guys that I've already got stuff in my cart, let's see if they have, so I sometimes put the same thing in my cart from like 10 different people, and I go see, all right, who's got this item with these other items, and the one I can actually get up to free shipping with finally after getting all the stuff I want will be the one I buy from, and then I delete it from all the other stores, the items I wanted. That's how I do it. It takes a long time for me to buy stuff, though. I'm slow to pull trigger on buying minis because it's expensive, Buying minis is not a cheap hobby, and you can see all my paints and junk that I have. It's not cheap either. I still have to, I keep saying I need to pop these wings out. I soften them up so I can spread them out so I can paint inside here. You can see inside that wing it's still got a lot of gray because I couldn't figure out how to get into that wing without doing that, and I haven't done it yet. The wing is too folded up. It's in my way. And I had, like I said, airbrushing. I get it, airbrushing. I would have thought you would use it with your armies, but I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, I can see that they're probably small. But if you do big figures, how do you paint? You paint big figures by hand? Like I'm painting this guy only by hand in all the details I can see, but that's why I don't do very many big figures. This is probably only the second large fig I did. My other one was a clockwork dragon, one of the steampunk kind of guys, steampunk dragon. Made it. Somebody got me that one for Christmas, and I decided to go for it. And then, like a lot of times, I'll put certain minis that I want and stuff on my Ulster wish list, like paints and brushes and stuff. And usually, family or somebody gets it for me for Christmas if I haven't already bought it. If I buy it, I take it off the list, obviously. But we use Ulsters or gift giving thing, so it's nice because if you see stuff you want but you really can't, you're not, it's like, oh, I can't afford to spend that on myself right now, just put it on my Ulster list, and hopefully, and I usually get some of the stuff, not all of it, but I am like one of the world's easiest people to shop for. I'm not one of those people that somebody goes, oh, I don't know what he wants. He's got 2 things on his list. One of them costs $7,000. No, I mean, it just costs a lot. Like, my kids, they can't afford to buy expensive stuff. But I have stuff that ranges from a few bucks to things that are, a few $100. My wife usually gets me those things. Sometimes my parents. But if I get them at all. Now I go off list. Some people, I like it when people go off list, you know, but it's not always easy to shop for people when you're trying to think off list. It's you get ideas, and if you're smart, you get an idea in the summer, you buy it. Say, screw this, I'm gonna buy it, and then give it to them at Christmas time. I do that like with my kids or my wife, whatever. I'm going, oh, this is a good idea. I want to buy that. It's on sale, or even if it's not on sale or just this cool thing I found. It's like, oh, that's gonna be a good gift. You gotta buy it when you can. If you wait for Christmas, then you're like, I forgot what it was I was gonna buy. Guess I'm going to the list. And my wife, she likes to put. My wife, she likes to put things like kitchenware and cleaning stuff. I mean, not like the chemicals, but like Roomba type stuff or this thing or that thing, and I'm like, is this a trap? It's like, what? I've historically been told this is not what you buy your wife. you know, you don't buy pots and pans and. I mean, I guess if they're expensive, fancy pans, but they're not always. They're just like, oh, I need this dish rack thing or these dish towels, and I'm like, no, I'm not buying you those. I just always feel weird buying things like that for gifts. I was brought up knowing that that's not what you buy your wife for gifts. There's a fine line. I'll let someone else who doesn't know better. Let family members that aren't me buy it. Now, granted, it can be tricky sometimes. It's like some years, some gifts, some birthdays, some holidays. You're like, I don't know what to get. And then you go to the Elster list. But nobody ever. So I also find stuff that I like on eBay, and I almost never get those items. I end up having to buy them myself because my family is not one for planning ahead. And when you buy stuff from eBay, you gotta buy it. They'll like buy something. They'll like do all their Christmas shopping in like the last week of December, and you cannot buy stuff from anywhere that needs to ship during the last week of December. Unless it's Amazon, you can probably do it if you do it like within a couple of weeks of the end of this year. Or some things that are like you can only get from China. It's like maybe some custom this or fancy that. It may not be terribly expensive, but it's going to take 3 weeks to get it. So you can't buy it in December. Like I bought some car seat covers for my son. I bought some car seat covers for my son back in. I had to buy them for like in October for them to show up. Like one year I bought them in November, but that was too late, so I had to cancel them. And that was the next year that I bought them. And I bought them way earlier, and they still took a long time. I bought them in October, and they didn't show up until like I don't know, first or second week of December. But at least I had them. They were pretty cool too. I got a pair of those car seat covers, and they're okay. They're not the same, different design, but the problem is they have an armrest hole, which doesn't allow them to sit right on my seat, because my seat doesn't actually have armrests, which is problematic. Okay, I think I'm pretty. Oh nope, I still got links. Oh, this is a lot of bronze on this guy. A lot of metal to paint. I didn't realize how much. I gotta say, painting big figs like this is work. What time is it? Oh, it's 5 o'clock. I got family coming. I think I'm gonna have to finish him later. I don't think I can continue. I'm gonna sit right in front of the porch. I suppose I can get a few more links in. Maybe get it done. I gotta just do the links on the back of his belt there. So I put a lot of this on here when I mixed it up. So this is, like I said, it's a mix of bronze and my um, Vallejo color shifting dark green. And I don't know what it shifts to because it's just dark green, but and when I made it, I was like, that's a lot of color. I'm used to putting tiny drops. When I do minis, I usually just put tiny drops of paint on my wet palette and go from there because I rarely need more than a small drop of paint. Unless I'm doing like the entire body, and even then it's a medium drop of paint. But this guy, he uses a lot of paint. Just this bronze belt, or these chain links. And bronze everywhere on him. So, I don't know if you're still there, but if you are, do you paint? What kind of armies are you painting? Are they Games Workshop, or are you like a Warhammer kind of stuff, or do you paint like the Star Wars stuff? Some people like to play that a lot. What is it? Legion something or other? Star Wars Legion. And there's like I have a bunch of the Joan of Arc stuff. I actually backed Joan of Arc, and I played it with some friends. It was alright. But the minis are cool. They're really small though. They're like 19mm scale, because some of the characters are really big, and if you had them at full scale, they'd be gargantuan. It's like I have this. It came with this Hydra thing. It's cool, but if it was full scale, I would never paint it. I haven't painted it yet. I don't know if I'll ever paint a gargantuan figure. There's just so much. It just seems like a lot of work. It's like I've seen people paint those. They post, oh, check out this thing that I painted. Oh, look, I totally missed that armrest. That arm band there. Actually, come to think of it, I haven't really finished that one either. Oh well, not getting it all done today. I never expected to. He's got a lot going on with this guy. There's just a lot of parts on him. So you can see that my links, they have white, they still have primer in the middle, because I'm resisting the urge to fill them in with the metal color, because I don't want to fill them in with the metal color. I'm not sure that it should be. So I'm either going to do it with black or the color of his leather, I don't know, what is that, apron, whatever the heck he's wearing. Leather kilt. I don't know what the heck this demon's wearing, to be honest. He's wearing some kind of weird leather loincloth. I don't know, it's skirt. Alright, well, yeah, I guess it's gonna have to be good for now. Good enough. Plus, I gotta hide this guy whenever I paint him, because whenever we do our campaign, I don't want people to see that this guy is getting his color on. So I kind of tuck him away. So I don't know if you've ever watched The Witcher or know the Witcher series at all. It's probably not even on TV yet. It's an episode that's got these two demons. They go by the name of Bang and Boo. So you'd have to know The Witcher to know what that is. But I named these guys after them. And I say these guys because this is Boo, and it's B-O-U, I guess, and then his brother Bang is a totally different character. I mean, he's a devil also, but he's a different kind of character. This is like a brute force character. This is his brother, much smaller devils. They can be all kinds of shapes and sizes. But he is what do you call it? Was it master of? No, I can't remember what it's called. He's a different kind of devil. But that's his brother Boo, and this is Bang, and he actually goes by Lord Cillian, and he's a big guy. I mean, he's bigger. I mean, he's still more than your typical guy, and his powers are completely different. He's still a challenge rating like 7 or 8 or 9 or something like that. So he's still pretty big. I want to say master of disease control. No, it's master. I can't do it. I can't think of it. I'll have to look him up. But anyway, so they're two different characters, and but they are. What I'm gonna he talks a lot more, right? So he can talk. He's more like, but he'll talk. He'll talk in a grumble. I'm gonna chop your head off, kind of thing. I'm tear you that from limb. Just brute force. This guy talks in a much more snooty kind of way. Oh, but he's also got these power of I won't say mind control, but he's very charismatic. And he's got these powers that let people just be charmed by his presence, even though he's a devil. He's got horns and he's kind of evil looking, and he's able to make people think he's a much better guy than he is. Plus, he can feed off of the surrounding characters. So if there's just bystanders, may not work out well for them. All right, well, I'm taking a break. I gotta hit the hay. I gotta hit the upstairs. I actually go join in with family, start setting up barbecue, doing my job as a grill master. Oh look, I missed the boss. I gotta wait 5 hours now for the next one. Maybe I'll do it tonight. Who knows? For Diablo, I've been playing Diablo a lot. But there you go. There's my progression. He's much better than he was. He's got more color on him than he did. But I still got to finish his 2 armbands, which you can see are still covered in mostly the other primer. I got the chains on. I got some of his leg braces on. So he's getting close. I've got to figure out a good way to highlight him, though. And I haven't done these arms. You can see I haven't done the arms that hold his wings. And that's because I'm not exactly sure how to do... Well, I don't know what color to do those in. Do I do it the same stuff as his arms? And then how do I highlight? I don't know. I'm having some brain farts. I'm trying to decide how to progress with his color scheme on his wings and stuff. But I'll come up with something. I always come up with something. I don't know how good it'll be, but it'll be something. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, Drago Boncho. I appreciate you coming by and chatting for a bit. And maybe, if you're up for it, follow me and we can chat some more next time I paint, which hopefully won't be too long from now. Hopefully I'll get back into a more regular paint schedule, but it's too many things, you know. I do so many different things, and then I don't even, video games and painting and Frosthaven. I got to paint some Frosthaven figures. Uh, I got to I got to paint some more this week. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tonight. I don't know. I got to get to other things besides this guy though, because I want to put a little more paint on my monks that I use in my weekend campaign that I'm playing this weekend. So until next time, take it easy.